So, as promised, I thought I'd do something a bit different for the 100th episode of this channel. And basically, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to just be talk about, I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm going to talk about my love for one comic. And it's a comic I've followed on and off in paper formats and also in digital formats all through my life, and that's 2000 AD. I remember going to the newsagents to get the first issue, not because I thought it looked like a cool comic, but because of the free gift. Because back in the day, British comics used to have free gifts, and on this one, there was a spinner. And of course, this is 2000 AD, the Galaxy's greatest comic, and it feels very strange calling this a pioneer comic now, because obviously we've gone past 2000 AD now. But what I like is how they've not changed the name. So I remember buying the spinner. In the first issue, if I remember rightly, I don't think Judge Dredd was in. He appeared in Prog 2. But because the strip that I loved when it first came out was Dan Dare. They did a reboot of Dan Dare because my dad used to talk about Dan Dare from the Eagle. So I absolutely love that, and Flesh as well, which was like before anybody thought of Jurassic Park or anything like that. 2000 AD did a story about how they were able to breed dinosaurs. They used to use the dinosaur meat for food, etc. It's kind of like a monster movie meets western. Really, really good series. So yeah, from when I was 7, I've been into 2008 from 1977. So you can work out my age. So from 1977 onwards, I've always had connection with 2000 AD. There's a period when I stopped buying the comics, but I bought the collections. Titan, what's known as Titan Comics and Magazines now, they used to do like big graphic novels collections of 2000 AD, especially things like Judge Dredd with Brian Bolland on and stuff like that. I used to have all those. Obviously, as you get older, your collections change. They go bigger, they go smaller, they go bigger. I got divorced about 10 years ago, so I had, for space purposes, I had to get rid of virtually all my graphic novels in physical formats, and I had hundreds and hundreds of 2000 AD graphic novels. So the ones I've got now are just ones that I've slowly rebuilt on. So look at those, look at my favourite characters and the spin-offs, etc. 2000 AD. But what I did do when I got rid of all my comics, I joined 2000 AD digitally. So again, if you're in America and you can't get a physical comic, I do recommend the digital format. Very reasonably priced. Lot better than Comixology. There's never any problems. They always have sales on collections and stuff like that. And so I used to get this shop front of the digital format is like that. I've gone back to paper now, so I get Judge Dredd in physical format, and I get 2000 AD great cover by Jock in physical paper format nowadays. But I have got quite a few of the graphic novels on digital, because the prints, because what I like about 2000 AD, the colouring is much better, I think, than a lot of American comics. So they're very, very vivid. So in digital format, I've got quite a lot of the Slain books. So like that was the last one with Leonardo Manco doing the artwork, who's done quite a bit of Hellblaze and people like that. So yeah, so even if you live in the States and you can't get physical comics of 2000 AD, just go to 2000ad.com. You can join, get a digital subscription, and you can get most of the book. You can get all the back issues and whatnot on digital format as well. So I highly recommend it. So yeah, so that's one way of doing it on digital. So I've got quite a few on there. So the ones I've got on there are Slain, Bad Company. I'll show you what Bad Company is, because I'll come to those in a bit. But what we'll look at now is this. Just look at this. So as you can see, there's As you can see, there's quite a few books here. So I'm going to cherry pick some of my favourites and things that you could look out for. Now, a range of graphic novels from 2000 AD that are worth checking out are the complete case files, and these start from the very first appearance of Judge Dredd and go all. They're just carrying on. I think they're up to book 41 or something like that now. But they've got classic art like this one here. It's got people like Carlos Esquerra, Mick McMahon, Brian Bollins. This one, the Angel Gang, really, really great. I mean, 2000 AD always pushed the envelope when it came to what violence they could show. Looking at these now, I want to read them all again. But yeah, I mean, you've got so many classic stories in here. Just trying to find. Yeah, the Just Child Quest is one of the classics. Amazing artwork here. In 2000 AD, especially Shred, they managed to do these long stories that can go on for a year, but they don't feel long. They just draw you in and they just expand on the cast of characters, and the world is just fantastic. So I really recommend you buying the Judge Dredd Complete Case Files. This is a late one, and they moved on to colour later on. It's a nice way of getting a big chunk of Judge Dredd to read. And of course, my favourite 2000 AD character is Strontium Dog. Now these, I think they've sold out, because I had a look on eBay to see how much these would be, and they're going for hundreds, some of them, so but I'd never part with them. I just love them. This is created by John Wagner, Alan Grant, with the majority of the artwork by Carlos Esquerra. And for me, this was Carlos Esquerra's peak artistic period. Strontium Dog starts off as Star-Lord, which was like a companion comic to 2000. It came out like a year, I think, later, but it was more high quality, so there was more colour. The paper stock was better, but I don't think they could carry on with keeping the costs down with the amount of people who were buying the book, so they merged it eventually with 2000 AD. So Strontium Dog moved over to 2000 AD along with Robusters and a few others. Yeah, and I've always loved Strontium Dog. He was always just slightly. He just felt cooler. He had a sense of humour. He had Wolf Sternhammer. I've done a video on Strontium Dog about why I love it so much. And they're basically galactic. They're mutants, so they're despised by what they call norms by us. But they're valued at the same time because of them being mutants. They have a lot of them have special powers, and they become search and destroy agents, which basically it's just another word for bounty hunters. They do the jobs what the norms wouldn't want to do. So they're kind of like feared but respected at the same time, and but despised by society, and they do the jobs what normal people wouldn't want to do. And it's just fantastic. There's never been a boring story with Strontium Dog. A lot of the early stuff, which were in these, they're reprinting now in deluxe hardbacks, which are in colour. But now the later stories are the colour ones here. And again, with Esquerra doing the majority of the artwork. Obviously, sadly as well, he passed away a few years back, so I think they'll be doing another. I think there's rumours of being more Strontium Dog, but I don't know who'll be doing it. I'd love to see Henry Flint do it. And another big character from 2000, spinning out of Judge Dredd, is Chopper. There was a big story. There's like a two or three part story called Chopper. I think was it a Midnight Surfer, something like that, in one of the Judge Dredd stories, and it introduced Chopper. And in Mega City, they do sky surfing, so the surfboards, but they can surf like through the sky. And then they did a huge epic, which was amazing, called Oz, where there's this big surfing competition in Australia, and it featured a lot of art by Brendan McCarthy, I don't like Brendan McCarthy as a person. He's got some very weird views, but as an artist, he's amazing. Um, but yeah, and again, Oz is in a lot of these books. They've got the Apocalypse War in here and other things like that. Just so good. But Oz is one. I think it's my favourite big epic because it's just so different, and you could see it was the influence for a lot of the Mad Max designs as well, especially in the later Mad Max films. But yeah, Chopper was like the main star out of that, and he had a big series in the Judge Dredd magazine after that, and then he had another one later on, which was drawn by Brendan McCarthy, and this is another book I would highly recommend hunting down. Gorgeous, gorgeous Brendan McCarthy artwork, and again set in Australia. But 2000 don't rest on the laurels. These were like classic characters, but he kept on introducing new characters that ended up being classics, like Devlin Well, who again is one of my favourite ones, and he is basically um, a vampire, but he's also he's an exorcist for the Vatican, freelance paranormal investigator, vampire, but as it says here, an altogether dashing road, and camp as Christmas. Absolutely fantastic. Um, this is like slightly more adult because it's from the Judge Dredd magazine. Just fantastic, fantastic story. Another favourite character. But like I said, they just carry on bringing other characters in who are great. We'll just see if we can find a character on here. There's one I do recommend you hunting out. I think you can get it in book form still, but it's definitely available on digital, so that's how I've got it. It's Bad Company. And it is the best war comic I've ever read, even though it's a complete science fiction story. It is just so amazing. It's a really good anti-war comic, written by Pete Milligan, drawn by Jim McCarthy, I think. I think Brett Ewins did it, and Jim McCarthy, Brendan McCarthy's brother, inked him. It was just fantastic. Like I said, I've got the digital trade of it. Let me just check. But yeah, it's so good. I highly recommend looking for the book, or just getting it on 2000AD.com. You will not be disappointed. It's a classic of its time. And let's have a look. Sorry about this. No. It's thinking about it. So anyway, how was your day? We're waiting. Here we go. Yeah, that's Bad Company. Just fantastic, and I adore the artwork. Brett Ewins was a genius in layouts. And another big character in 2000 whose story, sadly, but I'm kind of pleased it has finished, is Slain. Finished on a real high because he had Leonardo Manco doing the artwork. Um, I can't. Oh, sorry, my tablet's been really sluggish. Here we go. That cover is just fantastic. But yeah, Slain is everything that you want Conan to be. Whereas Conan kind of got censored a lot by whichever comic company would be with. There's no censorship on Slain. And the thing he had over Conan, he warp spasm, so his body contorts and twists, things bulge out and all that, and he gets like this extra strength, and it becomes a berserker. So it's a much darker version of that kind of sword and sorcery character. And speaking of sword and sorcery and fantasy, again, like I say, DC 2000 don't rest on the laurels. They reinvented the whole game again with Kingmaker, again, which is easily available on the website and in comic shops. And this is a fantastic blend of science fiction. Initially you think you're reading a fantasy book, but it ends up being science fiction, and it is so good. Really nice artwork. Another one to recommend. Now, I was going to give a top 10, but there's just too much good stuff. Because one of my other favourite characters is Nemesis the Warlock. What can you say about Nemesis that hasn't been said already? It's got amazing art by Kevin O'Neill, really good political critique writing by Pat Mills. This is how you do sci-fi. It's just glorious and mad and crazy and fantastic. And it picks apart organised religion and things like that in a very, very stylish, fun way. But then you can do a shift in tone and do just an outright real-world thriller, which they've done with Button Man, which is about a hitman and this group of other hitmen, and they're paid by these shadowy figures, and it's like this big game across the whole world, and you just pay them to kill each other. And again, amazing art by Arthur Ranson, who came to prominence in the 60s and 70s doing things for like TV related comics like Looking and Countdown, but then he moved to 2000 AD and he came to prominence for 2000 AD initially with Judge Anderson, Shambhala. If you've not got that, do buy it. It's coming out soon. They're bringing a series of essential Judge Anderson books, and I recommend checking those out. But he also did another great book which was more fantasy orientated, and this is Maze World, which I've done a critique on before. Again, great book, written by Alan Grant, again, who sadly passed away last year, I think. And they don't just do that type of fantasy, that type of science fiction. Way before Books of Magic, way before Harry Potter, 2000 AD, did a character called Jack Kirby and Summer of Magic. And it's just a gorgeous artwork by John Ridgway. Perfect, cosy British fantasy. Like I said, it's got, if you like Harry Potter, this is the book to try. It's better than Harry Potter. It's how Harry Potter should be, and it's not got the transphobia of the writer. So there we go. That's another bonus. But yeah, classic book again. One to check out. But again, they don't just stay static. They also move into horror. And they're doing a brilliant series of folk horror books called Thistlebone, giving the Wicker Man a run for his money. Fantastic, amazing books, really nice European style hardcovers, great artwork. Sorry. One sec. Testing. There we go. Great artwork by Simon Davis, and really good writing by T.C. Eglinton. This is a modern classic. This only been out a few years, this series. Highly recommended. Again, another fantastic one. This is why I can't do a top 10. There's so much variety. As I was looking for all my books thinking, there's no way in hell I could put one over the other, because they move from that to like a steampunk, completely original sci-fi series by Ian Edginson and Ian J. Colbard. Ian J. Colbard is just, and it's a beautiful hardback cover book. Ian J. Colbard is just such a nice, clean artist. Very unique in style. And this series is mind-blowing. Ian J. Colbard also did a series called Brink, which I've had in comic form, but I've not got the collections yet. I will do. And I do recommend that because it's written by Dan Abnett, and Dan Abnett does his best writing when he's on 2000 AD. Just absolutely amazing. And then you have the GOAT of superhero comics, Grant Morrison. He first made his name in superheroes with this collection. And this is Zenith. This is just a cool as fuck superhero. It's embracing superheroes meets pop culture, basically saying what would happen if you're a superhero today and you got all the fame that goes with it. So it became like a pop star, and he is a pop star, so he's a pop star superhero. And it starts off in the 80s, this went into the mid 90s, I think, and it's got some Steve Yoles best artwork, because I think it's got a bit too simplistic now. But this, Hunt It Out, the case comes separately, and the books you can buy individually, and it's just, I love it. It's one of my favourite Morrison books. But they didn't just have Morrison and Pete Milligan and Pat Mills and John Wagner at 2000 AD. Alan Moore also did stuff for them, which includes Skiz, which is what would happen if E.T. landed in Birmingham. Yeah, so it's like Boys on Back, Black stuff, which so it's like dealing with the unemployment crisis of the 80s with space adventure as well. Oh, it's just great. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book. Fantastic art by Jim Bakey. And of course, his classic for 2000 AD, which has been re-released now in a gorgeous, gorgeous hardback, which I might get. But I've got the black and whites of Halo Jones. Gorgeous artwork by Ian Gibson. And Ian Gibson also did a fantastic series of 2000 AD with Alan Grant called Robo Hunter, which I've not got but I want to get. They did have them in collections, but I'm not sure if I can get both physical, so I might have to go digital for those. And not just that, he also did Dior and Quinch with Alan Davis, which is one of the funniest books I've read. People forget, I think, how funny Alan Moore can be. That's, you can't get in physical formats anymore, so you will have to hunt it down on eBay or whatever. But you can get the digital version. And late, they also spread out with Judge Dredd's world. So they've had Judge Anderson, like I said, but also Hershey, who was Chief Judge Hearst for a while. She's not anymore. She's disgraced and she's become private investigator. And this is just a great new series. It's one of my favourite recent stories from 2000 AD. Again, highly recommend that one. So, 1 second. Another modern classic is Lawless, which I've sung praise of a few months back. So there's 4 collections, but there's a 5th book completed. And boy, this series is just so good. It's just such a fun read. Gorgeous, gorgeous artwork by Phil Winslade, who I think initially came to prominence with Goddess in the 80s with Garth Ennis, and then did a series called Monolith. But his black and white artwork is just stunning. So that's another one I highly recommend, and one that they're making a series of, I think either film or TV series, is Rogue Trooper, which is some amazing art by Cam Kennedy, Brett Ewing, Steve Dillon, Dave Gibbons, Colin Wilson. Again, great war in space storyline. Basically, what it is genetically cloned infantry man, and the helmet, gun, and backpack all have chips on them, which are his dead comrades, but the memories and personalities kept alive in these chips. So it's just great. You'll never read a war book like this. It's just fun. Great early art by Cam Kennedy, Colin Wilson, Dave Gibbons, etc. Just so nice. I think you still get some of these in hardback, but they are available digital in trade collections. But they are available digital. And the good news is they're bringing those out in. They're bringing out Rogue Trooper again soon this year in a new series by Garth Ennis and Patrick Goddard doing the artwork, and it looks nice. So I would recommend, first and foremost, get the regulars, get the monthly Judge Dredd magazine, chunky 124 pages, and a weekly 2000 AD comic. The quality is as high now as it's always been. Just great, fantastic arts, always pushing the boundaries, always fresh, always exciting. 2008, even with my weekly American comics, what I get, this is the comic I always get excited about when it comes through, because I know even if one story's naff, the rest are going to be good. And they're very rarely naff, the stories. They're really, by naff I mean rubbish or shit. Whereas you can't say the same with ongoing American comics. So, yeah. Support the weekly and monthly, because without these we wouldn't have these glorious, fantastic, beautiful collections. I could show you loads more, but just isn't time. It's been 25 minutes. But if people ever ask me what's your favourite comic, I will always say 2000 AD, even over Watchmen, over Dark Knight Returns, any over Bone, Mouse, over any of those, it's going to be 2000 AD because that's the one that's always been there, and 90% of the time it's entertained. I've only been disappointed about 10% of the time, which is good going for a comic that's been going for over 40 years. Yeah, and it's just it's a pioneer, and it continues to be groundbreaking. Since Rebellion took over the publishing of them, they've gone from strength to strength to trying new things. They've got the whole treasure of British comics now, so they're rebooting and re-releasing classic British strips from other comic companies from the UK, and bringing out Battle Action again, which was another great comic from the 70s. That's coming out in July, so it's a good time to be a 2000 AD fan. And yeah, I just love 2000 AD. If I had to stop all comics and just keep two, it'd be Judge Dredd and 2000 AD, because you get everything in it. You get a mix of sci-fi, fantasy, and action, and even humour, and even bringing like younger strips for people. So yeah, I absolutely love it. I adore it. It's been with them since 1977, and it's a comic I'll always keep on getting. If I stop getting the physical format, the comic format, I'll get it digitally, or if I don't get that, I'll get the collections. It's always been like, it's been my constant reading companion for all these years, through over 40 years. So yeah, it's their 46th year this year, their 46th birthday, and like I said, they're still going strong. Check out their website. If you do join digitally, you can get a lot of free content as well, like 500 pages of free content to give you a taste of what's out there. They do cool merchandise, they do games as well, they do t-shirts. It's just a great comic company. The American companies like DC and Marvel could learn a lot from them. They showed up how less is more. You don't need to just keep on saturating the market with books. Just concentrate and do quality, and that's what they are. So that's it. That's my love letter to 2000 AD. Bit all over the place. Like I said, I was going to do a top 10, but as I was doing this, I just thought, I can't. I love all of 2000 AD. It's been the birthing ground for Grant Morrison, Alan Moore, Garth Ennis, you name it, and so many artists, Brian Bolland, Dave Gibbons, and so on, Simon Bisley. So yeah, just a comic company I still love, and I always will. So that's it. Okay, bye.